You do it without thinking, before the dinner, before the meeting, before the family gathering. You said yes to weeks ago, and now dread quietly. You sit in your car a little longer than you need to. You check your phone, but you're not really reading anything. You take one long breath, then another. Maybe you rearrange something small, a bracelet, a strand of hair, the strap of your bag, not because it needs adjusting, because you need adjusting. These are your rituals, and no one else can see them. Most INFJs don't realize they perform these small, invisible ceremonies before entering a social space. But you do. You've always done them. A quiet pause at the doorway, a breath held in the elevator, a specific song played on the drive over, a phrase you rehearse under your breath, a moment alone in the bathroom before rejoining the room. They look like nothing. They feel like everything. Tonight, I want to name what you're actually doing in those moments, because it isn't nervousness, it isn't avoidance, it isn't social anxiety, though it can wear that mask. It's something much more precise. And once you see it, you may finally stop apologizing to yourself for needing it. There's a name for what happens inside you before you enter a room full of people. Psychologists who study the nervous system call it co-regulation preparation. Your body knows, before your mind catches up, that in a few minutes it will be surrounded by other nervous systems, other moods, other unspoken tensions, other people's days pressing against yours. And your system, an INFJ system, doesn't just experience its own state in a room, it picks up everyone else's too. Stephen Porges, the neuroscientist who developed polyvagal theory, described the human nervous system as constantly scanning the environment for cues of safety and threat. He called this neuroception, perception below awareness. Your body is reading the room before you've said hello. For most people, this scanning is quiet background noise. For you, it's the whole radio. So before you walk in, some deep part of you knows, I need to prepare. I need to stabilize myself first, because once I'm in there, my system will be doing 100 things at once. And so, without instruction, without anyone teaching you, you built rituals. Let's look at what those rituals actually do. The pause in the car isn't procrastination. It's your nervous system finding its own baseline before it has to hold space for others. You're checking in with yourself while you still can, because you know that in 10 minutes, your attention will be pulled outward, and it may not fully return to you until you're home again. The long breath in the hallway isn't stress. It's tone setting. You're telling your body, we are going in gently. We are not going in braced. You're softening your own edges so the room doesn't feel sharper than it needs to. The small adjustment, the bracelet, the hair, the sleeve, that isn't vanity. It's what psychologists sometimes call a grounding gesture. A small, intentional contact with your own body that says, I am here. I am inside myself. I have not floated away yet. The rehearsed sentence, the song on the drive over, the specific perfume you always wear to hard events. These are anchors, little pieces of self you can return to when the room begins to pull you in too many directions. You are not being neurotic. You are being thorough. You are preparing to do something most people don't realize is difficult. Because for you, entering a social space is not just walking through a door. It's entering a field of moods, subtexts, unspoken histories, tensions you didn't cause, but will feel anyway. And you know, from a lifetime of experience, that you will absorb some of it. You always do. So you ready yourself the way someone might ready themselves before stepping into cold water, slowly, with small movements, with reverence for what the body is about to go through. There's something else happening in these rituals that I think matters even more. You're saying goodbye to your inner world just for a little while, but still, goodbye. Your inner world is where you live most fully, the slow thoughts, the half-formed patterns, the quiet dialogue between you and yourself that never really stops. When you enter a social space, that dialogue has to go quiet. You have to come to the surface. You have to be available. And the surface is not your natural altitude. Carl Jung wrote that the introvert's psychic energy flows inward, that the inner world is not a retreat from life, but the very place life is most vivid. When you enter a room full of people, you are being asked temporarily to reverse that flow, to send your energy outward, to be received rather than to receive yourself. That's a real transition. It deserves a ritual. So the pause before you open the door is not weakness. It's not you being bad at people. It's you honoring a threshold that most people don't even notice they're crossing. You notice. That's the whole point. That's what makes you an INFJ. I want to say something gently here, in case you needed to hear it. There is nothing wrong with needing these rituals for the rest of your life. You may have wondered at some point whether you should grow out of them, whether more confident people just walk into rooms, whether needing to sit in your car for 5 extra minutes is something you should fix. It is not something to fix. It is something to respect. The people who walk into rooms without preparation are usually the ones who are not registering the room the way you are. They don't need the ritual because they're not doing the work you're doing. Your rituals are not a sign that something is wrong with you. They're a sign that you are paying attention at a level most people never will. If anything, I'd invite you to make your rituals more conscious, not more elaborate, just more acknowledged. The next time you find yourself sitting in the car a little longer, notice it. Don't rush yourself out. Let the pause be a real pause, one you chose, instead of one you're slightly embarrassed by. The next time you take a breath at the doorway, take a second one. Give yourself the full transition your system is asking for. You are not stalling. You are not hiding. You are crossing from one world into another, and both worlds are real. Your system works the way it does, and doesn't need fixing. It needs the small ceremonies you've been quietly performing for years, the ones no one else could see, the ones you sometimes didn't even see yourself. They are how you take care of yourself in a world that rarely slows down enough to notice you need care. So tonight, if you're preparing to enter a room, literally or otherwise, I hope you let yourself have your rituals without shame, without rushing, without apologizing to yourself for needing what you need. You've always known how to prepare. You just needed someone to tell you it was allowed. If any of this felt familiar, you're not alone here. This channel is a quiet place for INFJs who think deeply and feel more than they say. If you'd like to stay, you're welcome to. A quiet place for deep minds